ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Hi, it's Sam Hawley from ABC News Daily, the podcast that brings you one big story affecting your world each weekday in just 15 minutes.
What happens if one of these violations of NATO airspace results in a shoot-down of a Russian plane? We're in a very tenuous period right now when it comes to European security.
Join me for ABC News Daily. Find it on the ABC Listen app.
People have many sides, contrasting faces they choose to reveal at different times. It's April 2024, and over 9 years of abuse, Alliyah has seen many sides of Kellie Whiteside. The former teacher has been arrested, and after so many failed interventions, the slow gears of justice are finally starting to turn. But as judgment approaches, Alliyah is left with one last unsettling question. Which side of Kellie will they see across the courtroom when they look their abuser in the eye? This is episode 5 of The Favourite, the final of this special series from Background Briefing. Reporter Julian Fell joins me one last time. Hi, Julian.
Yeah, hey, Tom.
So this is the moment in the story where you first met Alliyah.
It is, yeah. I actually first met them when their story was just hitting the news. At the time, for legal reasons, Alliyah wasn't identified in any of the reporting. It was all about Kellie's offending. And so that left Alliyah as a bit of a ghost. But I couldn't stop thinking about what it would be like for Alliyah to experience everything they've been through and then start putting their life back together again. What is it like to be emerging after 9 years of brainwashing? So when I'm introduced to Alliyah through a mutual friend in April 2024, I hop in my car and I head out to Logan.
Turn right onto Logan and then drive straight.
After a 40-minute drive, I arrive at Alliyah's house where they're living with their partner, Em.
Hello. Hey there. How are you?
I'm met at the door by this massive white dog called Yeti.
Come on, Yeti. Come on.
Em's there as well, and so's a little toddler.
Down here? Yeah. Just down this way. Come on, sis.
Nice. Really feels like a home there, with video game controllers and kids' toys strewn everywhere.
This is a shoes-off householder, isn't it? Right?
No, leave your shoes on. That's so good.
We settle onto a couch, and as Alliyah starts to tell me their story, it's clear how fresh this all is.
I'm realising that the sexual trauma of it's really only one piece.
They're still figuring out what it all means.
There is so much psychological trauma that I now have to face and try and navigate my way through.
They're trying to make sense of these complicated, sometimes contradictory ideas about their own past. And as I sit and listen to Alliyah, I realise how hard that's going to be.
Kellie used to say to me, I love you so much that I'm willing to go to jail for this and, my life could be ruined and that's how much I love you that I, am choosing you over all of this.
Alliyah's still coming to terms with the fact that this thing that they thought was love was actually abuse.
Yeah, it must have been a shock for you to just hear all of this. Did it surprise you how they spoke about Kellie?
It did, yeah. This is not the way that people usually talk about child sex offenders, right?
Yeah.
It's so much less black and white than we're used to hearing.
Sometimes the guilt very much still kicks in and I'm like, what have I done?
Through it all, Alliyah's grappling with these two different sides to Kellie.
There's this version of her that can just turn on you and just, be mean and nasty. And I saw a lot of that at the end of our relationship.
But then there's this person that Alliyah came of age with, shared countless milestones with, lived with for years. This woman was genuinely supportive in a lot of real ways.
There's a version of her that would protect me from the other version of her, if that makes sense. It's there's this version of her that feels empathy and is so caring and so gentle and so loving and kind.
Even those good memories that they shared together are all tainted now. They're seeing the depth of the damage that Kellie has done to them through even these positive memories.
It's so weird because I feel like I only saw one version for 10 years and now I'm seeing the other version.
Of these two versions of Kellie, it's the dark side, the child abuser, that the courts are going to be considering over the coming months.
Okay.
Are you recording this time?
Yeah, it's definitely turned on now.
Okay.
It's a cool autumn morning and I'm sitting in Alliyah and Em's car.
Yes.
We're parked just around the corner from the Beanley courthouse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was actually, I thought,
It's like 15 minutes past.
I thought that was it.
We
yeah.
still
Keeps
have
us on
20
time.
minutes.
Things are a bit chaotic.
And we were like, oh, we didn't know that.
Nerves are on edge and I can detect some excitement mixed in with all the anxiety.
What the plan is today or what's going to be happening exactly. I imagine this will be when she'll get her charges read to her, but
It's all speculation
Don't know.
because we have no idea how the legal system
exactly.
works. Like, there's only so much Law and Order you can watch. So
Alliyah is the complainant in the case, which is a special kind of witness. So they don't actually have a lawyer, and it's too early in the process for them to have a victim liaison officer either. So the only information they've been getting is from the detective himself.
Even though they told me it was going to be underwhelming, I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't know what was going to be underwhelming.
What they do know is that Kellie's facing dozens of child sex offences. And if she's convicted on all of them, she could be in prison for decades. But that's not really what Alliyah wants. What they want out of this court process is for Kellie to confess.
I've looked her in the eyes and said, like, you groomed me. And she has said, no, I didn't. She's never admitted to any of the things that she did to me are what they are. And I think hearing her plea is something that's important for me to keep healing.
It's going to be a while before they find out just how Kellie will plead. Alliyah's likely looking at months or even years of court dates before it gets to that point.
What's an extra 2 to 3 years? For me, this has already been going on for 10 years.
But before that, Alliyah's got today's hearing to get through. And when they get inside the courthouse, they're expecting to come face to face with Kellie for the first time since they went to the police.
I feel like I'm going to feel scared. Like, regret will kick in, the guilt will kick in.
And when they get inside, Alliyah doesn't know which version of Kellie they're going to find. The warm, caring one they remember, or the cold, abusive one that they now know.
It's easy to do all this when I don't have to face her, but it's a lot harder when that person's put in front of you and you see, like, you know, her emotions.
We pop out of the car and head towards the courthouse on foot. Jackie, Scott, and Seb are already standing outside, along with a few of Alliyah's friends. I've been imagining like a large, gleaming courthouse, the defendant in the dock, protected by like a screen of glass. But the Beanley Magistrates Court is nothing like that.
It was a bit musty, I'm not gonna lie. The seats reminded me of like my old bus seats. Like I caught like a coach bus to and from primary school.
There's only about 12 seats in the public gallery.
I wasn't expecting the room to be so small and intimate. So I remember panicking, being like, where is she gonna go when she comes in? I'm gonna be so close to her.
After waiting in the courtroom for hours, there's still no sign of Kellie. The judge just grinds through case after case after case.
Yeah, there was just lots of people in and out. Like people were getting their names read, coming in, then leaving.
It's only 3 hours in, with the room starting to thin out. The court officer comes over and they ask Alliyah which case they're there for.
We said Kellie Whiteside, and she was like rummaging through all the buckets of all the folders that had been put away. And then that's when she found Kellie's folder and said, oh, like she was like one of the first ones to be called.
Their case was heard while we were standing in line outside, waiting to be screened.
While you were waiting to go through the metal detectors.
That's right.
And that's when I said to her, was she here?
This is when Alliyah realises
she was never going to be here and she's not going to be at the next one.
It's a frustrating realisation. The whole experience would have been so much easier to navigate if someone had just told them that earlier. I won't be able to make it to every court date from here, so Alliyah agrees to keep an audio diary of the process and to send through the files as they go. A month later, the first instalment drops. They're in the car with Em on their way home after sitting through another frustrating court mention.
It is like 40 minutes after leaving court for the third time.
Me, my mum, and Em, we went in, and she was one of the last cases to be read after sitting there for 4 hours to find out a crumb of information. But basically, it's being moved to the district court. That's it.
The case is being transferred from the magistrate's court up to a higher court where the more serious crimes are prosecuted.
So that would give Alliyah a sense that at least something's progressing here.
Yeah, it's a positive step, but it means months of waiting until the next court date. A week later, Alliyah sends through another voice note.
So I guess I just want to be like super vulnerable right now, and my anxiety is just like through the roof at the moment.
Listening to this 10-minute recording is pretty difficult.
The pressure to just continue on my life as if my world wasn't really crumbling, going through the court system, but also having to continue on with everyday life because the world doesn't stop.
These voice notes show a vulnerability that I've not seen when we speak in person.
Going across the road halfway through my shift and having a mental breakdown or a panic attack, struggling to just get through my day without just reaching a point of complete exhaustion. Struggling with sleeping, eating, struggling with not self-harming, and I'm proud of myself that I have not caved in.
In this state, time passes slowly. We check in here and there, but nothing much happens with their case. And then I get another voice note from Alliyah.
So it is the 23rd of October.
It's been 4 months since the last hearing.
Case was indicted to the DPP and the charges were laid out. It's kind of surreal, like, seeing it. I don't know.
Following this court hearing, Alliyah's got their hands on this new charge sheet.
So the count 1 is repeated sexual conduct with a child, and count 2 to count 30 is indecent treatment of a child under 16. So that's kind of like, that's like the first official like charge sheet that I've seen this whole time.
It's a massive moment in the case, and it's a big deal for Alliyah. Only they weren't there to witness it. After sitting through pointless mentions for hours, they've missed the date because the victim liaison officer forgot to let them know.
It just sucks to know that there was a court date that I didn't know about, that I wanted to be there for, I have wanted to like hear the charges be read out. I just feel out of the loop.
A couple of weeks later, there's another development.
It's the 7th of November 2024, and today I got the most random bunch of information, and by random I just mean like I did not see it coming.
Kellie's lawyers have been negotiating with the prosecution.
It looks like they're wiping the 29 indecent treatment charges and going ahead with the one really big charge of maintaining a sexual relationship with a child.
In exchange, Kellie will plead guilty.
Wow, this is something that Alliyah has been wanting from the get-go, and now they've received that word. There will be a guilty plea here.
Yeah, that's all they've really wanted from the start.
Yeah.
It means that Kellie isn't going to challenge Alliyah's witness statement, and in a bureaucratic way at least, she's confessing to everything that Alliyah says she's done.
It's just a lot to process, especially because I didn't see it coming. A lot of things to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
It also means the end of court proceedings is in sight. It could be over in a matter of months.
That's true, because one aspect, of course, is guilty plea, no trial.
But on the other hand, there's a plea deal, only one charge remaining. It does feel like a body blow.
10 years worth of trauma, 10 years worth of being with this person who has done so much damage to me and so many people around me, like my parents, my siblings, like mutual friends. It's not just me, and 10 years of that is coming down to one charge.
But the prosecution does their best to explain why this is.
The grooming, the indecent treatment charges, all of that is covered under the one main charge of maintaining a relationship, because those charges then just become evidence.
And it's still a big thing because the greater charge there has a maximum of 20 years in jail. Alliyah's mum, Jackie's been attending a lot of the court dates with Alliyah and Em, and she's having her own difficulties with the legal system. She's frustrated that Kellie remains out on bail.
She's out in public. Why is she not being held behind bars?
By pleading guilty, Kellie will avoid facing trial, but she'll have to appear in court to be sentenced still. And that's where Alliyah will face their abuser one last time.
For the sake of 12-year-old Alliyah and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and 17, 18 and 19 and 20 and 21-year-old Alliyah, like, I need to do this for all of those versions of myself that were traumatized for so long.
Alliyah has the option to give a victim impact statement during the sentencing hearing. That's where they can describe the impact of those 9 years of abuse to the judge and to Kellie.
The person that did all this to me, I don't think knows the depth of what she has really done. So that's a very heavy thing that I need to think about. And I need to figure that out so that I get it right.
They've got a few months to prepare, but they're putting the finishing touches on it right up to the last minute. And then finally, the day of Kellie's sentencing arrives. It's a hot, cloudless day. I'm at the courthouse early, trying to catch a glimpse as she enters the building. She won't be leaving until her sentence is done. There's a whole pack of photographers and reporters milling about, but Kellie somehow slips past everyone without being seen. The scheduled time for the hearing gets pushed back by a few hours, so Alliyah, their friends and family all waited out at a nearby cafe. With plenty of time to kill, Alliyah and I sit down for a chat. How are you doing? What's going through your mind right now?
I think I'm like the most anxious I've ever felt in my entire life. I've just been on like the verge of tears like all morning. I'm just so like nervous.
It's not so much the sentence that they're worried about at this point. It's that Kellie is going to be there. And Alliyah won't just be seeing Kellie. They'll be facing her in court and reading out that victim impact statement.
I'm so scared that I'm going to like start crying through it. And I'm just not good with doing that in like front of people. I'm more anxious about those things than I am about the outcome.
As they wait, there's something else on Alliyah's mind. Kellie's written an apology letter for today's proceedings, and Alliyah's been given a copy of it. This is one of the only times we'll be able to hear directly from Kellie, so I've asked a colleague to read the letter out in full. It's dated the 18th of March, 2025, and it says,
Dear Your Honour, I'm writing this letter to express my deep remorse and sincere apology for my actions. I fully acknowledge the harm I've caused, and I deeply regret the impact my actions have had on Alliyah, their loved ones, and my own family. I'm truly sorry for the pain, distress, and suffering I've caused. It was never my intention to hurt or harm Alliyah, and I can only imagine how difficult this has been for them. I deeply regret the trauma and disruption I've caused in their life. I take this matter very seriously, and I've taken time to reflect on my actions. I've attended counselling with 2 different psychologists to understand the offending behaviour and to treat my own depression and anxiety. During this time, I'm deeply ashamed of my actions and the hurt that I've caused, and I can assure you there is absolutely no risk of me reoffending in the future. I'm truly sorry, and I ask for the opportunity to prove that I can change and contribute positively to society. Yours respectfully, Kellie Whiteside.
Listening to that, it sounds like part of that apology from Kellie is to ensure that they don't see the inside of a prison cell.
Yeah, it doesn't ring true for Alliyah either.
That letter was a piece of garbage. It sounds like AI wrote it. There was no emotion in it, and it was actually just her trying to justify her not reoffending.
To Alliyah, it doesn't sound like the Kellie they used to know. It doesn't sound like her voice. The letter seems like a clue about which version of Kellie they're going to find inside the courtroom. Soon it's time for everyone to shuffle through the metal detectors and into the courthouse. This one in the heart of Brisbane is nothing like the one out in Beenleigh. It's exactly the gleaming, light-filled building that I associate with the state's criminal courts. And Alliyah and their entourage, all 12 of them, squeeze into a tiny conference room that only has space for 4 chairs. Alliyah's only minutes away from seeing Kellie again. After an anxious wait, they file into the courtroom. Kellie's already in the dock.
It was so real seeing her and to see her reaction.
Alliyah takes a seat directly behind her, 2 rows back in the public gallery. Only a thin glass screen and a row of journalists separate them.
I didn't have to see her face and her eyes to know that there was nothing there.
From where she's sitting beside Alliyah, Em's looking out for signs of emotion from Kellie.
Yeah.
I think she had her arms crossed and she was slouched over the whole time. Like, it was just infuriating. Infuriating that she just had no emotions about anything that she had done.
And then, in the unsparing, technical language of the law, the prosecutor reads out the statement of facts. It's this long, explicit description of dozens of sexual acts that we've chosen to leave out of this podcast. Em knows just how tough this will be to hear and has warned others in the court about what's coming.
We had a lot of friends and family, and we said, this is going to happen. If you need to step out, that's totally fine. And I think everyone stayed. And that was very emotional for their parents, obviously, to hear all of those things that happened and they had no idea about.
Apart from softly delivering her plea of guilty, Kellie sits still and quiet throughout. Sitting behind Kellie, Alliyah has their eyes screwed shut. Years of trauma are being reeled off in front of everyone in the courtroom, including all their loved ones.
Having so many people around me supporting me and loving me, my in-laws were there, my parents were there, my closest friends were there, my partner was there, and everyone was just sobbing.
John is one of them. He used to be one of Kellie's closest friends, but today he's there to support Alliyah.
Hearing all that, hearing the intimate details just fuels that fire inside of you. That courtroom was filled with people who are mothers themselves and fathers, and just to be around that and to see all the heartbreak in that room and every mother's heartbreak for Alliyah and their mum, it just made you angrier.
And then it's time for Alliyah to speak. They step up to the lectern and start to read.
For the past 18 months, I've been rebuilding all the bridges I was manipulated into burning.
We're not allowed to record in the court, but I asked Alliyah to read the statement again.
It has taken me this long to realise that I was not special. I was just the perfect victim for a predator like Kellie. She is a selfish, manipulative, and terrifying representation of the small group of predatory educators in the schooling system. Not only will I never get to have a normal childhood or teenage experience, but I will spend my 20s unscrambling the psychological trauma that has been done. I will never be able to get back what my abuser stole from me, or my family, because she stole my time, my life, and it's gone forever.
Alliyah's mother, Jackie, quietly sobs in the gallery, listening to Alliyah's words.
It was hard to hear the damage, but I just said to Alliyah how proud I was and that I loved them. I remember Alliyah sitting down, squeezing my hand. I was just so proud of them, being able to stand up and speak their truth in front of Kellie and being able to have their voice was just the strength.
And then it's Jackie's turn to speak. She and her ex-husband Scott step up to the microphone. Again, this recording is Jackie reading a statement outside of court.
The innocence that once defined our child has been stolen. Our child has been taken advantage of, abused in the most unthinkable way by someone in a position of trust. Kellie has taken multiple milestones in Alliyah's life and stained them.
Her voice wavers as she describes the guilt that she feels about failing to protect her child from Kellie. Scott's up there standing beside Jackie as she reads. He takes the opportunity to turn around and stare at Kellie. He tries it a few times, but she just won't meet his gaze. Next, it's the defence's turn to make its case. Kellie's barrister, James McNabb, submits Kellie's letter so she doesn't end up reading it out in front of everyone. He also submits another letter written by her parents, as well as a series of reports by some psychologists who she's seen since her arrest. Mr. McNabb describes why Kellie was vulnerable to committing child sexual abuse. He says it's due to a constellation of traumas, including a failed marriage and postnatal depression. And he notes that, in the opinion of one psychologist, her chances of reoffending are low. It's now up to the judge. He takes a few minutes to formulate his decision, and then he cites all the ways that Kellie's demonstrated her remorse. Her admissions following her arrest, her guilty plea, and the 5 hours of rehabilitative psychology that she's completed.
Okay.
The judge says that he accepts that Kellie really regrets what she did.
Right, so that must have come as a surprise to some people in the room.
Yeah. Well, the judge goes on to call Kellie's offending an outrageous breach of trust. Your conduct has caused terrible consequences to this family, he says. You took advantage of a very young child at a difficult moment. And then he reads out his sentence. Of the 20-year maximum, Kellie Whiteside is sentenced to 5 years in prison. She'll be eligible for parole in 2. Alliyah's parents are devastated. Jackie blames herself.
I was like, was it not enough? Was there not enough information for that judge to understand? Did she only get that amount of time because part of my victim impact statement didn't make enough of an impact?
But Alliyah's less concerned about the sentence. As the judge adjourns the case, they learn at last which version of Kellie is the real one.
She got up and she walked away, and it was like 2 seconds and it was done. And she never looked at me. She never looked at my family. And I feel angry about that, but I'm also grateful that I now know who this woman is and who she has always been.
Kellie Whiteside didn't respond to multiple requests for comment, both before her imprisonment and via her lawyers afterwards. The day after the judge handed down his verdict, Alliyah sent me one last voice note.
It is the 19th of March 2025, roughly 24 hours after Kellie's sentencing.
They're still processing what's just happened, but there's this one moment in the courtroom that they already know they'll never forget. It was when they just finished reading out their statement, and they'd been hoping to finally look Kellie in the eye. But instead,
the first person I saw was my dad, and I just wanted to hug him. And I forgot that Kellie was even sitting there. That was my one opportunity to come face to face with her and look at her. And it turns out that in that moment, that didn't even matter to me. I just wanted to go back to my parents. I wanted to sit back down next to my fiance. Going back to my family was what was important to me in that moment.
11 years after first meeting her, Alliyah realizes Kellie's biggest lie of all.
I've just been getting messages and messages of just like love and support, and it's just crazy. It is crazy to feel all that when there was a time for so long that I thought that she was the only person that was going to be there for me. The tables have completely turned now, and she was the one that had no one there for her.
Just a final note from me before I sign off. I want to say a massive, massive thanks to Alliyah for having the bravery to speak out when there were so many reasons not to. and to all the wonderful people in their life who shared their perspectives with me. In particular, Jackie and Scott. I know how hard it was to relive all this. Okay, that's it.
That was the 5th and final episode of The Favourite, a special investigation from Background Briefing in collaboration with ABC News Story Lab. We'd really like to thank Story Lab editor Matt Liddy and deputy editor Kristen Tilley for freeing up Julian Fell to produce this story with us. The digital design for this project was by Georgina Piper, with additional digital design, production and photography by Teresa Tan. Deb McNamara did the artwork for the podcast. Background Briefing sound producers are Lila Schunner and Ingrid Wagner. Sound engineering by Hamish Camilleri. Music composition by Emrys Cronin and Zoe May. Fact-checking by Justine Landis-Hanley. Our rollout producer is Ben Sveen. The supervising producer is Max Chalmers. And the executive producer is Fanu Falali. The producer on this story is Loretta Florence. And the reporter who spent an incredible 18 months on this investigation is Julian Fell. I'm Thomas O'Reilly. You can now listen to the whole series. Search The Favourites, Background Briefing on the ABC Listen app. Thanks for listening.